It's good to see everybody, and a lot's happened since the last time that we met, and hopefully there will be a wave of goodness that continues to go, but of course nothing is simple. So let's take a look at our teaching, and then I want to share something from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Lord Rabbi Sachs, who just passed away over Shabbos.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Super sad. Yeah, cancer, and he announced that he was sick not that long ago, and it went very quickly. It's very upsetting. I met him. I heard him speak. He was one of the best speakers of our generation. I mean, you could listen to him read a phone book. It was just, fantastic. And if you haven't read any of his works, you should read his works. The one, my personal favorite, not that I've read them all, but the one that I thought was really interesting is a book called something like Not in God's Name. It's about it's pushing back on religious fundamentalism or violence in the name of religion, and he gives this amazing pluralistic reading of the Genesis narrative of Abraham and Ishmael and Christianity, and how there's space for coexistence. It's a beautiful. Half of the book is academic and really hard, and the other half of the book is this reading. I did it as part of an interfaith book club between me and Reverend Amy Butler, who used to be the Reverend Senior Pastor at Riverside Church. We were good friends. We co-authored a number of things together. Now she's in DC, but we did this thing together. That was the book that we read. And she recommended one, and then I recommended one, and that was the one that I recommended. So he just passed away, but and I saw something from a friend of mine that they posted an email from him that he wrote to her, and it's relevant to our Mishnah. So let's take a look at our Mishnah, and it says the host disabled participant screen sharing. I'm the host now. Oh, someone's listening.
Yeah, Jesse is listening.
Jesse, you're the man.
Hey, y'all.
I didn't see your hair. I didn't see your face. I didn't see your name.
Oh, Rabbi, it's only 2:30.
It's 2:30. I've been up for more than 12 hours already. I'm so gone. All right, here we go. Oh. All right, Rabbi Yishmael. Okay, Rabbi Yishmael Benoi. So this is the Benoi of Rabbi Yochanan, I think, right? Yeah, Rabbi Yochanan. Okay. So Rabbi Yishmael is approximately, I think I saw the Rabbi Hertz says that he lived the second half of the 2nd century. So it's getting a little bit later. And Rabbi Yishmael Benoi Omer, he said, Haloimed Torah al manas lelamed, a person who learns in order to teach. Maspikin biyadai lilmoid ulelamed. It's enough, meaning it's given to him the opportunities to both learn and to teach. A person who learns in order to do, in order to perform, so it's not just one-to-one, right? The person who wanted to got to. Here, a person who wanted to learn, meaning a person who's learning to, the first one is a person who's learning, right, to be able to teach. So then they're given the opportunity to learn and to teach. A person who wants to learn in order to perform, so then not only do they get the learning and the teaching, but they also, and the doing, but they also get lishmor, right? So that's not something that's a direct parallel, needs an explanation. Reb Tzadok says, Al tasim ator lehisgadel behem. Don't ever make them, meaning the learning, a person knows a lot of Torah, a crown. Lisgadel behem means to make yourself big, to make yourself great, to be haughty, to elevate yourself through the Torah. V'lo kardoim lach por behem, nor with a spade with which to dig, meaning it's not supposed to be a utensil for certain types of work. They're holy works, they're mundane works. And so too Hillel said, ish tamish besaga. So this is obviously Aramaic. Whoever puts chalaf, whoever puts on this crown will perish. Ha lamadata kol hanana And he taught that anyone who derives benefit, the root there is ana'ah, whoever gets pleasure, mitzvah Torah, noitel chayav min ha'olam, right? It removes life from this world. So this needs an explanation, and we'll speak it out. There's a huge dispute. There's a huge dispute between the Nefesh HaChaim, Rav Chaim Volozhin, and the Yosher Divrei Emes, but other people fight on the two sides of what does it mean to learn Torah Lishma. If a person learns Torah for the sake of the mitzvah, for the sake of God, for the sake of the Torah, there's this fundamental dispute. If a person learns Torah, generally when we say like Lishma means for the thing itself. So eating matzah on Passover, we're eating it for the matzah, meaning for the story and the Exodus and all the things. So when a person learns Torah, the Nefesh HaChaim says the greatest level, the Lishma level, is when a person learns Torah for the Torah itself, because the pleasure of learning is just, there's no pleasure like it. That's the highest level. You're not learning it to pass a test, to give a class, right, that people think that you're well learned, but for the Torah itself, just for the pleasure of the Torah itself, that's called Lishma. The Yosher Divrei Emes says, God forbid, a person is learning Torah for the pleasure of the learning. It's like, he describes it as niyuf. It's like you're kind of like prostituting the Torah, right? You're engaging in it for your own self-pleasure. So one's Chassidish, one's Litvish. They're different layers to this dispute. But the idea is that when a person is engaged in the learning of Torah, there needs to be an awareness that this is not ours. Torah doesn't belong to us. It's a gift, but it's an inheritance for the masses. And so when a person uses it for their own personal gain, meaning to lower other people or to artificially inflate themselves, so then that's not the purpose of the Torah. Torah is Lashon Ha'irah. It's a language of instruction. When a person uses the Torah to find guidance, right, for themselves, for the world, on how to function, so then that's the purpose of it, because it brings the world and the individual and God all closer together. I want to just read to you something that I just saw a couple of hours ago from a friend of mine. Her name is Adina Lichtman. I know her from NYU when she was a student there in graduate school. She started an organization while she was there called Knock Knock Give a Sock, which is an organization that she started knocking on dorm rooms at NYU, asking people to donate socks in the winter for people who are experiencing homelessness. And I think she's given like millions of pairs of socks away now. She's won a bunch of awards. She's super bright, really enthusiastic, also like really young. I don't know how old she is. I think she's in her 20s, maybe her mid 20s. And we just spoke a couple of weeks ago. She was raised Orthodox. One of her friends, who's a girl, is dating another girl who's one of them is Orthodox, one of them is looking into Judaism. So I'm actually speaking to the friend tomorrow night. So we've been in touch recently. Anyways, this is what she posted on Facebook today. During my college years, I wasn't sure where to put my energy when it came to figuring out my career. Did I want to work in the Jewish community directly or to engage them in making impacts in the world, or did I want to work outside the Jewish community and try to make an impact? I emailed Rabbi Sachs for some advice, who I was able to get to know well over my years at NYU. This is what he shared with me. It's not a long email, but it's beautiful. And if you've ever heard him speak, when I read this, I could hear his voice. He has really just a beautiful voice. Dear Adina, how wonderful to hear from you. Sorry for the time it has taken me to reply. You are doing really wonderful work. I don't think you should think in terms of the either the Jewish community or the wider world. Try to make sure that one way or another, you find a way of doing both. Not necessarily at the same time or in equal amounts of time, but still knowing and showing that to be a Jew is to be true to your faith and at the same time a blessing to others regardless of their faith. Each aspect of your work will give depth and breadth to the other. That's what I have tried to do, to work within and at the same time beyond the community. And it resonates with people within and beyond. You have extraordinary gifts of character, kindness, energy, and enthusiasm, and you will really be an inspiration to others. May Hashem continue to bless you, and may you continue to be a blessing to all who know you. And I think that's what we're supposed to do when we think about the work, that there's not like, okay, so I wear this hat and I wear this hat. We have professions, we have personal lives, we have professional lives, we have our Jewish communal lives, but they're not meant to be separate. A person isn't not who they are when they're working. A person is not who they are when they're in synagogue. A person is not who they are. And so when we think about what we can do to improve ourselves and what we can do to work on ourselves to be the best version of ourselves, every single thing that we do in life will be influenced for the positive. If we have more patience, we're going to have more patience at work. If we are, happier and more centered, we're going to be that in relationships with other people. And so the Mishnah here is telling us that when a person is learning, right, just for learning, so like you're kind of missing it. You're missing it because the purpose of learning is not meant to be isolated. The purpose of learning is that it should be expansive, that you should be a different human at the end of it. The world should be a different world, that your relationship with God should be different. A person is learning in order to like give it action. Judaism is a religion of action. And we've spoken, I think, everything's a blur now where we speak about these things, but faith can be can provide a sense of exemption. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay. The democracy will be okay. Have faith, right? So have faith can mean like you don't have to do anything because it's going to be okay because we have faith. That's not the Jewish perspective. The Jewish perspective is because I have faith, I can take on the precarity. Because I have faith, I can feel like I'm in partnership and I can do what needs to get done. We saw already from Hillel, it says that we should be like the students of Aaron HaKayin, right? That we're supposed to love peace and we're supposed to pursue peace. But it's not just enough to love peace. You have to be proactive. You have to go after peace. Peace, right, takes effort, takes struggle. And so ours is a religion of action. So I just want to pause and hear questions or thoughts on the Mishnah. Again, the Torah was never given to the individual. And there's an aspect of this that I think is sensitive to the need for communal experiences. And so if a person is learning, in a basement, like that's great for the person. That's great. Rav Shach, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of Panovich, he spent like World War I. He died. I was at his funeral. I was at the procession for the funeral in Israel. I think he died in 2003, 2004. He was like 106 years old. He was Rosh Yeshiva in Bnei Brak. In Rosh Yeshiva in Panovich in Bnei Brak. Panovich is the one with the famous gold aron. If you've seen a picture with someone speaking in front of this gold ark, that's Panovich. And like World War I, he spent it like in a basement somewhere. Someone brought him food, and World War I, he like was just learning, 18, 20 hours a day. And that's fine during a war, but the Torah was never given to the angels. The Torah was never given to the individuals. The Torah was given to the world for the world. And so, okay, so just to pause and hear people's thoughts. Yeah, please, Chana.
I always have thoughts. So I'm just trying to understand in terms of the part where it says Alomed al menat la'asot.
Right.
Okay. So what is, you said you were going to get into it, and I'm not sure you did, lishmor ve'la'asot. So what are we sort of watching over or after or for?
Good. Beautiful question. And I probably would not have gotten to it. So thank you. So generally, the shamor is thought about around the negative. Like we think about Shabbos as shamor v'zachor, to remember and to guard. So the zachor, remember, and that's the positive, like make kiddush, light Shabbos candles. The shamor is to guard, don't transgress, right? And so when a person is thinking about like, okay, what are all of the commandments that I have to do today? It used to be people, I don't know why I'm thinking about pre-World War II Europe so much today, but another big rabbi was passed away over Shabbos, also David Feinstein. For some might know the name of Moshe Feinstein. Moshe Feinstein was the biggest rabbi in America, previous generation from Russia. He dies in maybe 86 or 88. So his son was 91. He has another son that's still alive, Rebruving. But it's a very sad time for the universe. But the last 6 months, a lot of the great rabbis from pre-World War II Europe passed away. So anyways, it used to be people salted their own meat. Like there was a local butcher, you'd buy it. So let's say a person says, okay, so I want to salt meat. I have one of my smichas is in malicha, is in salting. It was on the test. I got my first smicha it's almost 20 years ago, and I still have not gotten a single question because nobody does it anymore, right? It's all institutionalized. And so anyways, but let's say a person is going to salt their own meat. They say, listen, okay, I want to learn how to do this. So a person starts learning hilchos melicha. How do you salt it? How do you rinse it? How many times? All those things. But why do they want to do that? Because they want to do it in order to be able to perform it. That's what lilmud to lasos means. I don't know how to do something. I want to know how to do it. I'm going to learn how to do it so I can do it properly. There's nothing wrong with that. We should all learn how to do things. It's good. But the Torah is not just about a selfish preservation to have kind of an access to information, right? When we think about democracy and we think about access to information, right? It's really important to have. So a person says, okay, like I want to know how to salt meat, but I think it's also it's important that other people should also know how to salt meat, right? So that's already right in an more advanced stage of, this is important information for people to have, for those, right? And then that's what advanced. Let's just take a look at the Mishnah that we're all on the same page here again. So so the first one is I have a test in the laws of salting. I need to know the material. So I'm learning it in order, it's the same word, and it's one of the things that's tricky in Hebrew. Right? A person has, let's say, a class to teach, right? On the laws of salting. So a person learns Torah in order to teach. That's good. It's a good thing. So maspikin biyadei lilmaid ulalamed, right? But a person could be learning how to salt, and it could be that like they're actually a vegan. There's nothing wrong with that either. But it's not about performance. So then it's limited to a person will know how to have time to learn and to have time to teach. Right? But if a person is learning about things in order to be able to do them, things which are relevant to their own, kind of existence, right? So then, maspikin b'yadei lilmaid ulalamed ulishmor v'lasais. So right, the lishmor here, I think, is what's added in this, and this is what I want. This is what I wanted to add. That when a person is learning to be able to perform, they're engaging in a relationship with God. And part of the things that comes along with that is a sensitivity to being in a healthy relationship with God. And so it's not just about the positive, but it's also about the negative. In other words, what can I do to help the person that I care about? And then part of it is also like, how can I not do the things which they don't like? So the holding back is a function of shomer. So we don't learn in order not to do, right? But we learn in order to have a sensitivity about, right, what are the boundaries of things we should do and what are the boundaries to make sure that we don't do. Does that make sense? So that's a gift.
It makes a lot of sense, but there's always a but for me, because you're talking about, your example at least, okay, is about some detail that some people may observe and some people may not observe, I'm thinking more about just something that mean to me more a relationship between human beings, okay? That's like what I would care more about than whether how I salt my my meat.
Right.
I don't eat meat anyway.
Good.
But you know what I'm saying? So that's where this kind of details kind of get lost on me. Let's put it this way.
So let's just bring it to like the relationship between people. So you're in a relationship, right? So the more that you understand what a person likes, right, what the things to do to be healthy in that relationship, one of the gifts of that is that like you also understand what not to do. But the study of what not to do, it's less of a study and more of a sensitivity, right? We learn by trial and error. I thought that you would like this. Turns out you don't like this, right? But by focusing on what is good and the thing to do, there's a way in which we become sensitive. So let's say, for example, we believe that everyone should have the right to vote. So if you study how, right? So then the converse of that is like, okay, we become sensitive to voter suppression. We become sensitive to, right? So so what we're engaged in the positive, right, of learning how to register people and all the things. But then there's also kind of like this protection of, okay, but how do we make sure that like it'll be protected? It seems to be like an additional layer that's related, but it's not its own. it seems from the Mishnah that it's not the direct study, but the consequence of the study. That in other words, when we think about what is the right thing to do, we become sensitive of like, well, how come this hasn't happened yet? And so like, okay, how do we ensure this? So those seem to be derivatives of that you don't study by themselves, but it's something that some seemingly comes out of. That's what it sounds like from the Mishnah.
Okay. So yeah, okay. I think I'm getting there. I understand this better.
The structure of the Mishnah is odd, right? In other words, there's something there that's telling us something.
To be honest, I was expecting a little bit like this contradiction, that one is better than the other, or one is good and one is not so good. You know, the sort of studying Torah for the sake of studying Torah as opposed to for the sake of doing,
you know
stuff like
yeah.
that.
It's one of the, I read this a long time ago and the people's names didn't make a, right, but there was this famous ethicist, I don't know if that's the right word, who ended up doing some unethical things. I mean, he was a professor of logic or mathematics or something. And they said, like, you of all people. And he said something like, the punchline was better than the setup, but it was something like, I might teach this, I might teach about shapes, but I myself am not a square. Something like that, right? And they're famous people even alive today at famous universities who got in trouble, even though they're really professors of ethics, for writing positive comments about their own books under a pseudonym. And so like there's space between people who study it, but live a very different life. And I think part of what the Torah asks of us is that we're meant to be Talmidei Chachamim, we're meant to be practitioners of the wisdom, right? The Talmud even says in a bunch of places, and it says it in different ways, that sins of the mind are different than the sins of the body, right? A person even thinks about doing something that they know that God doesn't want and doesn't do it, but like relishes in the enjoyment of fantasizing about doing something that they know God wouldn't want. Like that's worse than engaging the body. The body has desires. The body does things that it wants to do. It's tired, it wakes up. But there's something about engaging in the brain that to have access to that information and to use it to go in opposition is worse than not knowing it. So the Gemara says in another place, the person has a desire and they know they can't overcome the desire, like they should like dress up in clothes that nobody recognizes, going to a different city, like get it out of their system, right? In yeshiva, they would say, okay, a person, this is a cultural thing that it's not important, but in the yeshiva world, you weren't allowed to watch movies. Didn't make a difference what the movie was. You couldn't watch a movie. But some kids had desires that like there's a new Star Wars or whatever it is, that there's a movie. Okay, so I understand. So you're going to go see this movie. So understand that it's wrong. You're going to do it anyways. Go to the town over so people don't see you, and then move on with your life. I once had a Rabbi. He said that he told over an important story. He said there were two boys who went to the movies. You could substitute movies for anything else. This happened today. A guy calls me up and he's like, it's a long story. A friend of his had an affair. It's a long story. Anyways, it doesn't make a difference. I'm sorry. I really didn't sleep last night. So two boys go to the movies and they know they're not supposed to. It was some benign movie. Anyways, and they missed night Seder. The Seder of the day, the order, there's a morning, afternoon, and night in yeshiva. So they have morning Seder. Seder just means the order of the day. So the morning is like 3-4 hours of learning. The afternoon's 3-4 hours of learning. The evenings, anyways, they missed night Seder. One boy feels so much shame and disgust with themselves that they went to the movies. They don't even come to Mariv. Mariv is at 10 o'clock, the evening prayers. The other boy said, okay, look, I shouldn't have done the movie, but like, what does it have to do with Mariv? I'll come back to Mariv. So the one boy, that was his last day in yeshiva because he felt like this is who I am. I went and I did this thing I shouldn't do. And they therefore like couldn't like pick themselves up. The other boy came back to yeshiva and said, okay, so like I did it and it wasn't that much fun. I won't do it again, and like moved on with his life. And they met up years later, and the way the Rabbi said over the story is that I'm so tired, I'm so sorry. That he said that the difference between me and my friend was davening Mariv, right? In other words, we all do things that we're not proud of. The question is like, do we allow it to define us? Or do we recognize that it was a mistake? We make mistakes. We're human. We all make mistakes. It was a mistake. I should not have I went to sleep. I woke up at 2:30, and I had a lot to do, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll try to go back to sleep, and I didn't, and it was a mistake because I'm very tired. But that doesn't define me. That doesn't mean that it's worth that's ending it. Okay, so I made a mistake. I should have forced myself to try to go back to sleep. So I think what the Mishnah here is saying is when a person sees themselves somehow detached from what the information should mandate in the world of action, so then you're going to be stuck in that space of your head, meaning the Torah will only permeate to the world of ideas. Maybe you get to share those with other people, but it's like in the world of ideas. It's only when a person recognizes that, it's like reading the instructions to put together a bookshelf and say, you know what, I'm going to put it together differently. Okay, maybe that'll work, but that's not what the intended purpose is. And so the Torah is meant to be, it's this language of hirot, it's a language of instructions. Torah instructs us. And again, this is not about how to interpret the Torah. Torah says a lot of things and it all needs an explanation. But the pursuit of trying to understand, how am I supposed to act in this world? What makes me a good person? What is my responsibility in this world? So when a person engages in that process, it sounds like in that relationship with God, God reciprocates and gives even more than, provides the opportunity for, and hopefully for the awareness, and protects the person from the struggles that are overpowering. So anyways, the take-home message of the Mishnah is that when a person, the Torah is holy, and whenever a person takes something which is holy, holy means kadosh. Kadosh means sanctified. Holiness is that it's designated for something. So when a person takes something that is designated for a higher purpose and they debase it by trying to elevate themselves, whether it's an office in government that is meant to be for the people and they use it for selfish, it's no different. It's whenever a person has the opportunity to do something of elevation for the universe, but uses it selfishly for themselves, often at the expense of other people. So then, what is that life worth living, Why is that life? And that's how the Mishnah ends. They're giving up their life, meaning, okay, you can live a life, but life is not for oneself. Life is for the other. Life is about advancing the cause. Life is about giving. We're here to help people. So the Torah is a tremendous tool to help people. It provides faith. It provides guidance, compassion. It's a moral compass, if it's attuned and calibrated properly. Okay, my friends, Bli Neder, I'm going to try very hard to go to sleep tonight. Sorry for the rambling. I hope, if nothing else, the letter from Rabbi Sachs just models what does it look like. This young girl is a student in NYU at the time. I'm sure Rabbi Sachs's office got emails from students all over the world every day. But to respond to somebody and to make them feel good about themselves, especially because of who you are, She saved the email. She posted it today. It's from years ago. It's an amazing model of what it looks like to, he was the chief rabbi of England, has the title Lord, He doesn't have to be emailing college kids. He doesn't. He could have gotten somebody to say, hey, the chief rabbi is really busy. One of us really received it. Wishing you the best of luck. But he modeled what it looked like to take that position and to use it. Okay, friends, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you hopefully more well rested tomorrow. Take care. Thank you.